Playing the Radical Latino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands in the air for New York's very own.
Radical Latino is taking you to another level.
What is poppin', my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Radical Latino Show. It's your host, the Radical Latino. How are you guys doing? How's y'all week been? My God, the week has been insane. Well, my 2 weeks, because I didn't put out an episode last week, is because I was strategic. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I didn't put out an episode last week is because of the interview, obviously, that you guys are seeing now. I was either going to put it out that same day that I recorded it, or I was just going to wait until next week to put it out. And good thing that I did, because I want to give everybody a little bit of background. You know what I'm saying? I want to give everybody a little bit of background story. Dominican Renaissance, he is known to be a, Dominican nationalist. I say white supremacist, because anybody with a nationalist title in whatever that they claim to be, they always follow it up with some white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So, he claims to be a Dominican nationalist, and his buddy is Antonio Batista, and his buddy has been, as we all know, we recorded the same day, that Tariq Nasheed made that crazy video about, Antonio Batista. For those who don't know, Tariq Nasheed he had a live stream, and he included, towards the end, Antonio Batista's whole, little YouTube channel, or whatever the case is. When he included that, he was clowning them and doing whatever. So because of that, I made a response video, not response, but basically like a video, talking about the video or whatever the case is, because everybody knows I've been going at Antonio from jump. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, because Tariq, put it out in the spotlight because of his followers, they did what they did, and my man got the fuck up out of here. They basically deleted his channel. His channel was terminated due to hate speech. If you guys go to his channel, it says it right there, channel terminated due to hate speech. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, I want to commend Tariq Nasheed and all his followers. I even said it on Twitter. I want to commend everybody, because he didn't say anything, but his followers already knew, we got to get these white supremacists the fuck up out of here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to show sympathy for none of the shit, you know what I'm saying, that this dude's been, spewing, all the hate that he's been spewing, all that. But what we have to understand is, I'm not for censorship. I'm not for that. I'm against that. Nobody should be censored at all. But when it comes to hate speech, because that's the same thing that Antonio was doing. That's what Antonio was doing, essentially. It's hate speech. I'm not for that bullshit. Nah, get him the fuck up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Get him the fuck up out of here. And I did a live stream, and I wanted to hear what people's thoughts was and whatever. And people calling in saying that, hey, it's not that serious, it's not that big of a deal. He's gonna come back, which he is. He's gonna come back and all that. But a lot of people were like, yeah, I didn't know he was gonna get away, get out of this shit like that. You know what I mean? And somebody called in and said something very interesting, is that, am I feeling some type of way because I didn't get him out? And the thing is, my intentions was never to get him terminated. My intentions was for him to leave voluntarily, saying like, he's, this guy is on my neck a lot, and he's already, he's disputing everything that I say. He's debunking everything I say. There's no point. Fuck this shit. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't happening. he kept on getting followers and followers and followers and followers. It is what it is with that. But anyway, listen, he's gone. He's probably gonna come back, so it is what it is. But he's gone, and we're just gonna, move on forward with this empowerment, and hopefully, this is a lesson learned. Just don't go up on YouTube as a nobody, spewing a bunch of bullshit. When you look like the way you look, you know what I'm saying? Like, get the fuck up out of here with that, But anyway, with that being said, this interview was somewhat of an interview. It's like a discussion, Some people might think it might be a debate, but I didn't come into this, I didn't do this discussion with Dominican Renaissance as a debate. That was not my intentions whatsoever. My intentions was to sit down and talk with them, and see where he comes from, see what why he has the point of views that he has, you know what I'm saying? So that's basically what it is. And it is pretty long, because we were sitting down for a long time, talking and stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'm gonna catch you guys later. What up, my people? Welcome back to the Radical Latino Show. It's your host, the Radical Latino. Now today I have a very, very, very special guest. Dominican Renaissance, man. What's up? How you been?
I'm good, busy, studying a lot.
Yeah, that's good. That's always a good thing. So as everybody, knows, Dominican, if they don't know, Dominican Renaissance is a YouTuber, and, he was in the forefront, and he was in the spotlight because he's a certain friend with a certain person, and a lot of people were either associating him with him, you know what I mean, associating you or whatever the case is. But tonight we're not going to get into none of that. We really want to find out who Dominican Renaissance is, right? So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Dominican, obviously. Born in the U.S. I spent some time being raised on the island and in the U.S., but mostly in the U.S. And, even when I was growing up, I was always surrounded by Dominicans. And, actually, when I was younger, I had like a really strong Dominican accent. And then, when I turned like 12 or something, I just naturally changed. I just naturally became more fluent and changed the way I talk, and I just gravitated towards like what would be considered like white American culture. And for some reason, that's something that people are surprised by, which is weird to me, because like, I also had some friends who were the same way. Even now, they might not, they might lean towards more like an Afrocentric kind of view, or vice versa, where like they were Afrocentric and now they're like more Eurocentric.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, and I'm a student, an A student. I try to be a respectful person.
Yeah. But if you don't mind me asking, what are you studying? If you don't mind me asking.
Basically, it involves helping people. It's a very hard
Like a
career.
like a nurse, like a doctor or something.
No, not exactly, but it is involving helping people.
Okay, gotcha. So what made you start YouTube?
So actually, looking back, I think I've had a lot of moments in my life where I just like I've had like these experiences that kind of shape the way I view things.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of data on how different groups behave, and like what kind of behaviors certain groups think are acceptable and not acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing. When you're reading it on a piece of paper on the screen, it doesn't really mean a lot, but when you see it, in person, real life, um, and you just start seeing a pattern, you just come to a conclusion that people are different.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that there's nothing wrong with saying that, but I would say the first time that I really got like the first time that I was like exposed to like a Dominican being Afrocentric was like this girl that I had like on Facebook, and like I noticed that she kept making posts, like Afrocentric posts, and like one time I was just like, you're not black, right? And then she just like went on a whole tangent.
Uh,
Um, she's dating like a black guy or whatever,
yeah.
and like I like, to me it wasn't that big of a deal. I was just like, you're not black, right? And that's it. Like,
Yeah. To
because
you, it
like,
wasn't that serious.
no, it
Yeah.
wasn't that serious. Like that was my first like experience with that kind of thing. But then I realized um that it was like much bigger than that.
Got
You
it.
know,
Gotcha. Now, you said earlier that you had certain, how can I say, certain experiences like Eurocentric experience, or you, I think, was it, what did you say? You said you viewed white people a certain way or something like that. Can you explore a little bit more about that?
uh, basically, I noticed that you know different groups have certain ways that they behave, certain patterns that they in which they behave in,
Yeah.
and I'm not personally so interested in you know metrics of intelligence or any of that kind of thing. Well, I do think it is kind of, I think it is important because I mean there's a lot of research behind that kind of thing, and I think we should continue to research those kinds of things. But I'm more interested in like you know um, societal behaviors. Um, so, for example, if there, like, let's say you have a country, right, and in that country you
Yeah.
have a certain group that's just doing terribly,
Yeah.
like in every way, and other groups do fine. You have to like ask yourself like, why is there this difference, right? And it might not even be an intelligence thing. It might just be like their brain is wired in a certain way to where they're more likely to do these kinds of behaviors
Yeah.
that lead to failure
Okay. So,
or success.
okay. So, um, and at, and what kind of groups do you see uh distributing these type of behaviors in your opinion?
What kind of behaviors? Negative behaviors.
In your assessment, you said certain groups have, certain behaviors, and you said, you gave the scenario of a country. If you only got certain people who think negatively or do negatively, in your assessment, since you live here in America, what do you think, what kind of groups are, assembling or distributing those type of behaviors?
I think that an example is the African American community. And like, this might seem like I'm bashing them, but I'm really not that interested in, bashing people. I'm just interested in talking about reality. And I think that, if you look at their community, it's not doing very well. And like, it's a very simple problem to fix. Basically the men just have to stay in the home and not, leave. And that's a very simple problem. And after a certain amount of time, I mean, you got to ask yourself, like, when is this going to fix itself? Like, how does this what isn't the natural order of things supposed to solve this? And
Yeah.
we see that other groups just naturally do this. They just naturally know what to do. It's
And
like instinct.
and the thing is, do you feel like the Latin community it's nowhere near the same as the African American community that you're referring to?
That's very vague.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the same that what you basically call that, the African American community is the community's in shambles and stuff, and all you need is
Yeah,
the parents to be basically together, which I agree with. Every community needs a strong, healthy household.
yeah.
Do you think, and this is my question to you, do you think the Latin community is in the same, in the same shithole as, as the African American community, or they're not?
Um, that's the problem. What I have the problem what I have with this question, sorry, is that there's so many different Latin groups. Some do better than others, so I can't really like generalize on that level.
Okay. So, because when certain people, because you're not the first one who said, hey, listen, this is a very easy situation to fix. All black people got to do is stick together, and everything will be good. There's a
Yeah,
couple of issues with that, because historically speaking,
yeah,
the black community, the household was actually intact before the 1960s, and
yeah.
the community was still messed up. So what was the theory on that?
Well, I mean, sure, you could say it was messed up, but um, it was definitely better than what we have today.
Okay, so and
So it's
and,
just getting progressively worse.
and you're referring to, and you're pointing at to what, like crime rates or unemployment rates? What is your crust for your argument?
Um, I mean, there are a lot of different factors. I kind of made a video about this.
Mm-hmm.
Where I spoke about some statistics. Some surprising statistics,
Yeah.
and how African Americans are overrepresented in so many um, negative statistics involving like STDs and rape and violent crime
Yeah.
and single motherhood rates.
Yeah.
Um, these things are not great. And sorry, what was the question?
The question was that, what is your crust of your argument? What is that you're pointing to, saying that that's not so great? Is it the crime rate? Are you referring to single motherhood? Are you referring
I just
to,
think it's a lot of things,
it's like a
and
factor of things?
it's a lot of things, and
Got it.
like you could say that their perceived inability to self-assess and to correct those behaviors, people are going to start to draw conclusions, and that's where you get things that that's when you get the intelligence conversations.
Gotcha. Now, the the thing, see, the thing with that is that I don't see it that way. As you probably would probably think so. I don't see it that way. The way I see it is that it has nothing to do with simulating with the culture or anything. I see that there's a systemic problem in the black community that also trickles down and affects the Latin community, because we so happen to live in those same communities. Would you agree with that?
um I mean, sometimes they intersect, but I wouldn't say that Latin people live in those communities.
What? So let me ask you, what? Where do you live? Do you live in New York City, outside New York City, in the East Coast? Where do you live, if you don't mind me asking?
um I live in an area. predominantly with Dominicans.
Washington Heights.
No.
If you don't mind me asking, where?
Um, I don't want to get into specifics for obvious reasons,
Okay, no
but
problem.
it's mostly, it's mostly Dominicans.
Would it be? Would it be safe to assume that it's around Dykeman, around the Dykeman area, Washington Heights,
No,
around that? No. Okay. Is it in the
no,
Bronx?
no.
Oh, I was about to say I thought you were a neighbor, bro. Okay. So now going into the whole the whole intersecting thing,
Yeah,
I truly believe that those issues do intersect, because when you talk about, I don't know, police brutality, we're also lumped into that mix. If you really look at Stop and Frisk not only targeted black folks, but it also targeted Latin people as well.
yeah. Well, they commit more crimes on average, so
The what? The who black folks commit crimes on average?
more crimes on average.
So how come the statistic of multiple stops of black people that were stopped, 88% of it were innocent?
Listen, look. See, like we're talking about the effects of how this group is viewed.
Okay.
Until this group decides to fix their behaviors, until they correct their behaviors, until they show a desire to want to do those things as a group,
Yeah.
nothing's going to change.
No.
It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anyone says.
And I believe you're right. I believe that certain certain narratives need to be challenged and need to be changed, or whatever the case is. I don't think that somewhat, I'll give it a self responsibility. I'll say 15% of self responsibility, but the overall, I believe, is something that is negatively put there just to put a negative spin on it. Because if you're talking about these type of people being viewed a certain way, who are viewing black people a certain way negatively? Is it just Latin people? Is it just white folks?
Most groups in the United States, as far as I know.
Okay, most groups of the United States are viewing black people in a certain way. Why?
Well, the main reason is because of their culture.
And can you explain what their culture is?
It's basically like what they, the kind of music they listen to, the way they speak,
Like what?
the way they dress.
What music they listen to?
Like music, the curse with a lot of curses, drug promotion, stuff like that, crime,
Hip hop?
Gangster music.
Like hip hop?
Sure.
But there's a hole in that logic, because black folks were viewed negatively before hip hop was invented. So there has to be more
but
than
I
that.
mean, if you want to talk about other, groups, sure, but white people, they, that's different. They have other reasons beyond that.
But do you not see Latin people viewed negatively by other groups as well?
I think certain Latin groups, sure.
Like who?
Not Latin people as a whole.
Latin people as no, I've seen Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, even Mexicans get discriminated and viewed the same way as all Latin folks by Indians, Pakistanis, white folks, even certain Asian people. They view all Latin people the same. Did you not experience that?
No. What I've noticed is that people tend to assume that if you're Hispanic, you're Mexican.
Well, you
and I've always noticed that.
You know why, right?
Because the majority of Hispanics are Mexican in the U.S.
Well, no, not exactly. Well, yeah, that's true. The reason why is it's a backhanded diss, to be completely honest. Just saying that you're Mexican is kind of somewhat of a backhanded diss. white folks kind of giggle and chuckle at each other whenever they call somebody that's not Mexican Mexican. It's not a compliment. It's not a mistake. They know what they're doing.
I
But
think you're giving them too much credit. I don't think they care that much about like where different Latin people come from. I just think that like when they see someone that's Hispanic, they just say like, "Oh, you're Mexican." Like it's just Mexican jokes.
the funny thing is they could differentiate a white person clearly. So how come with us they just automatically call us
Not all
Mexican?
the time.
But they automatically call us Mexicans. They could definitely differentiate a black
No.
person from somebody from a Caribbean black folk a person. You know what I'm saying? So what's the why do you think they just give us the whole Mexican card? You think is just that they don't know too much about it, or
I think it's just that they don't care enough to learn. Most of them, I mean, they don't care enough to learn about most things
Okay.
that have to do outside of the country.
Okay.
Um, you know, but I just think that you have a Spanish sounding last name, they're gonna think you're Mexican.
Gotcha. Which is which I've
They're not gonna think you're Spanish.
no if I've gotten that plenty of times. I've gotten that a few times. Now let me ask you. I seen that you did a DNA video result.
Yeah.
What is the conclusion of that? Are you classifying yourself as black, white, native? What do you classify yourself as, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, if you want to get technical, triracial, like scientifically speaking. But I wouldn't identify as black. That's just like way too. That's way outside of my perception. Like I don't even understand what that means.
Got it. Would you be surprised if you kind of confuse other people by thinking that you are black?
What?
Would you be surprised if you confused other people by thinking that you are black?
I don't even understand that question.
That question meaning that other people see you as black, regardless if you see yourself as not black or not. You know what I'm saying? So, would you be surprised if other people identify you as black? That's what I'm asking.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a black person doing it.
What would you be surprised if a white person does it?
A little bit, yeah,
Why?
because it's never happened.
Oh, okay. You haven't been to the South then? No, let me stop.
No, I get like, people like they'll say like, "Oh, you look like, insert mixed celebrity here." I get those every now and then, but nothing like, "Oh, you look like Terry Crews." Like, like
Yo,
no.
you're so stupid. That's funny. Okay. The what was I gonna ask you? Okay. So, like on a employment ID, you just put all the race that you are, or you just put other. You just don't identify. You just see yourself as Dominican.
I tend to put other or like multiple.
Gotcha. Okay. What was I gonna ask? All right. So, I also saw what you mentioned previously about race IQ.
Okay.
And because you did you kind of did a breakdown on Jared Taylor's video that your friend did. You know, can you tell us on the things that you believe on that? Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
The intelligence thing, I just don't know enough about it. I'm not an expert on it. So
Okay.
I'm really not the kind of person that talks about things that I really don't like look at. But I know that there have been studies done, like twin studies and things like that. Like raising kids of a different race, with different parents and things like that. Like seeing if the IQ would change in a significant way. And I've from what I've seen, it doesn't. It doesn't change that much. So there, I mean, but then again, like there are a lot of different kinds of intelligences. So like I'm aware of that too. Like some people are just very good at like, making music. Some people they have very high verbal IQ, and some people are very good at math. Some autistic people are amazing artists. There's just like so many different kinds of intelligences, but I'm not the kind of person that's going to dismiss all the scientific data on IQ because it makes people uncomfortable.
Gotcha. But do you personally believe that race and IQ go hand in hand? That certain groups of individuals
Well, let's
who
put
are,
it this way.
uh-huh.
Um, Different groups have different features. And, it's not just like the melanin that you have. That's just like one small thing. Like skull structure, bone structure, like height, um, you know, eye shape, lip size, like all these different things. And like I'm expected to believe that the brain is exactly the same with all these different groups, that it's wired exactly the same way, even though every group has different results in different societies. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. So because I've looked at, I think I did a video about it a couple of hours ago, about debunking the whole race and IQ thing,
Uh,
and I came to the conclusion, mind you, I'm not an expert, I didn't go to school for this,
yeah.
but most of these people who are lauded as these experts in race and IQ, and them saying that blacks and Latin people are genetically inferior mentally by having lower IQs,
Uh huh.
is a reason for sterilization, is a reason for why we need to be, abused or whatever the case is. And then when you dig deep and you find out that these individuals are being excuse me, by the way, these individuals are being funded by white supremacist organizations, it kind of puts a huge red flag on what they're really saying. You know what I mean?
I don't think their focus. I don't think people who research this kind of thing have some sort of vendetta against certain groups. I just think that it is a it is a branch of science that's being studied for the betterment of humanity, and people have different opinions about it. But the data is available to anyone who wants to look at it.
No, what I'm telling you, the data is false. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The data that doesn't
Do you
exist because it
have
was
data
that coincides
that
against
is
that.
against?
Yes, yes, I do, because when the bell curve came out, literally a year later, the scientific community went insane because there was no peer review. This book was not circulated amongst the scientific community. Because of that, a year later, a bunch of scientists, 11 experts, came in and started to study and break down that book until 96, because the book came out in 94. A year later, they came out in 95 saying that they're studying it. In 96, they came out with their conclusion saying that that book is full of hoax, is all bullshit, that there's no race and IQ correlation whatsoever, because IQ does not mean intelligence whatsoever. On top of that, you find out that the two people who made the bell curve book were funded by a pioneer fund, which is a white supremacist organization, the same organization that funded all these other pseudoscience type of books saying that race and IQ are linked.
I mean, well, that's just one book. I mean, there are a lot of studies on this kind of thing, a lot. You know,
And what I'm telling you is, look at who's funding those type of studies. You know, Jared Taylor.
Europeans.
No, what I'm saying is, look at who's funding those type of studies. If it's a group that has a certain agenda, then you got to question it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Jared Taylor is one of these people who fund the peer fund. He's the one that's giving money to them. So there's a reason why, people have a huge red flag on that type of, fund. You know what I'm saying? And there's a bunch of other white supremacist connection or white nationalists that's connected to those type of groups. You know what I mean? So, if you want to believe it, go right ahead, but you got to kind of question, okay, who's funding this? Where are they getting their data from? How intensive is the research, or whatever the case is. You know what I mean?
Dude, but like, okay, we're talking about the validity of the scientific papers. But if you just look at society, right? If you just look at these different continents and you see how they are, like there's a clear difference.
But do you think that
Intelligence is one way of explaining that.
but do you think that the reason why these continents and these certain individuals are in the shithole that they're in is because of self responsibility?
I think that's a part of it, but I also believe that they have to. You have to understand this. This is really important. You have to understand that the societies that were built in Europe were exported to the world. Some people were able to maintain them, some people still can't create them, and some people are struggling to maintain them because these kind of societies these are Western society models that people are trying to imitate. So this is like the Western ideal of success. That's why I don't say that, there is like an inherent superiority or inferiority. This is just the way that Westerners do it. This is the way that we do it. And if someone else can't do it, can't do it. But we're not gonna pretend that, it's like, that it's our fault somehow because they can't do it.
Have you ever read a book called The Economic Hitman? Have you ever read that book?
No.
That book basically details, line for line, how Western powers go into third world countries, or what they consider third world countries, build it up, put puppet leaders in it, and basically decimate economically these places. Look at Venezuela.
Yeah.
It's full of oil. In theory, on paper, they should be, that place should be billions of dollars, richer. You know what I mean? But look what's happening. They're literally starving to death. Their money is inflating every other second as we speak. So you can't really blame the individual on things that are influenced behind the scenes that they have no control over.
No, but you can.
You can't. How
If they
can
keep
you?
making, if a society keeps making the same mistakes, it's their fault at some point.
Okay, so give me an example of that then.
So let's say if a society tries to, I try to put this into words, but let's say they try to elect somebody who's going to better their country, right? And they don't really understand like what what are the right steps, or maybe they just choose to ignore what are the right steps to better their country, and they end up voting for someone who's saying like all these things that sound nice but aren't really going to make a better country, sort of like following their emotions instead of following logic. And if they keep voting this way, if they keep voting for leaders like this, the country's obviously not going to get better.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're going to the voting, which I somewhat agree, but we have to understand that voting someone in doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna really have change, regardless if you understand it or not. It's very simple to know that you know I'm gonna give you change. I'm gonna bring some change, and I'm not gonna bring anything. Those are two very simple concepts to understand. I could come up with an analogy now when Colombia was the same way. You had Pablo Escobar actually putting his own money to rebuild the whole villa or whatever the case is, gave people housing and all of that. So the thing is, I don't necessarily put all the responsibility on certain individuals on why their continent or their country is the way it is. They have no control over that.
But they do.
No, they really don't. It's like us saying we have control over why Trump, bombed Iran. I don't. You don't. I didn't vote for him. So how can it's like it's like us blaming each other for what Trump did. We don't got control over that.
I mean, well, countries, Western countries like America also make those kinds of mistakes. But I mean, that's more about America is sort of in a weird spot because, a lot of Americans aren't exactly American. So it makes it very hard for Americans to actually do things unless they're using force. So I think that's a little different. But if you're the majority in a country, you basically have the say what goes, of what is done in that country. Like you have the say. It doesn't matter,
And I'm glad you said that. The majority of that country, you will have a say. So how come the majority of these third world countries who, let's just go to Africa because I think that's the analogy or the example you gave. The majority of these people in this country are African, not European, but yet the Europeans are the one who are in power. So how are you blaming the citizens on the actions of the people in power for why they're impoverished? Like if we keep it real, these people don't want to be living in sheds and shit like that. They want to they want to live right. So you can't really blame these certain individuals on the actions of the elite.
I think if a society wants to prosper, it'll prosper.
Okay.
South Korea is a great example of a society that was like relatively poor and became very prosperous very quickly because they had the desire and the will.
That's not true, dude. You got to understand that they got a lot of help. When South Korea it got away from North Korea, they saw that as a democratic, way of booming their economy. So what happened? A lot of other countries came in and started giving them money. US was one of them. So that's not necessarily true. They didn't just pull themselves off from their bootstraps and started just saying, you know what, we're good now. You got to put some real context into that.
Of course, they had help. I mean,
Well, exactly. So you can't really.
but they used the help. They didn't waste the resources that they were given.
Mm-hmm. So then, how come these other countries aren't doing the same thing then? In your opinion,
What countries?
In your opinion, these third world African countries who aren't doing the same thing, since they're getting the help. What's their excuse?
I don't know. Maybe they're just not interested in building a civilization to the Western model. Maybe they just don't care about that kind of thing.
The way I see it is, they get help, but they always get thwarted when they're actually trying to do positive help. That's the way I see it, because I see.
Why do you think? Why do you believe that other groups are so obsessed with this continent?
Well, obsessed with Africa.
Yeah.
Well, because Africa, it's not something I believe. It's something that I could prove. Because Africa gives a lot to the world. Everything in our cell phone comes from Africa. I think, was it Cobalt? I think it's called. I think that's what it is. Most modern cell phones can't even run without it. I believe. I could be completely wrong. Diamonds, gold, iron. A lot of things come out of Africa that are natural resources that other people control.
I mean, sure, but at the same time, I just think that there are ways for a society to break out of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I just think that they focus too much of their energy on things that are not going to progress them forward.
Okay, gotcha. Now, let me just move on to, Dominican Republic. When I did that interview with Bahari Moon, you put a comment under the comment section, which basically results into this interview, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell the people what you wrote?
It was something along the lines of, if you admit that the Dominican Republic is a nationalist country, or that there is growing nationalist movement, and that nationalism is the future, that I would do an interview with you. You
Gotcha.
admitted that.
Gotcha. And can you, before we get into the discussion, could you define what a Dominican nationalist movement is, or idea
It
is?
basically means that we care about our interests.
What do
That's
you mean,
really all it means.
care about what the Dominican interest?
Yes.
Okay. Well, like what? Can you break it down, please?
It basically means that instead of spending so much money on other groups, we should sort of maintain that wealth in our group and better ourselves and better our children, and just kind of focus on ourselves so that we can progress as a group, because the kind of world that we live in is a competitive world, and it's only going to get more competitive. And the country at the moment is being really held back by people who are just not aware of their self-interest, or people who advocate against them.
Gotcha. And so you put that on the comment section, which I found, I didn't really know the answer to that, because as anybody knows, and I'm just gonna repeat, I don't know too much about Dominican Republic politics, how everything gets broken down. I've spent time there, every summer when I was a kid, until I was like, 22, 23. And I decided to travel anywhere else besides going back to DR. You know what I mean? But I do still have, family out there. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a full expert on Dominican politics. I'm a full expert on what happens in Dominican Republic. But I just go based on secondhand information. Would you? This is something I told you over the phone, correct?
Sure, but I mean, in your videos, it sounds like you're trying to correct me somehow.
Well, we're gonna get into that. Let's focus first on the topic at hand. Um, the whole nationalist thing. For what I've been told, for what I've seen, for what I've found out, a lot of Dominicans don't really, see that whole nationalist thing as something to pursue. For what I've been told and for what I've saw, a lot of Dominicans just care about living and just taking care of their family, and taking care of what's going on. I've gotten that not only from my family, but from certain people that I interviewed. The mayor of Sosua. I asked him, what do some of Dominicans are talking about nationalism, and he didn't know what the hell I was talking. The mayor of Sosua. There's a guy that I interviewed called the mayor of Sosua. He didn't know what I was talking about. Some of my family members, back home, doesn't know what I was talking about nationalism. Only one person did, which he was like, yeah, that's just a small group that just, is very political, and that's about it. So, why do you adhere to that type of movement of nationalism of DR?
Because it's just embedded in Dominicans to be proud of the country. It just sounds like saying that that's not true is kind of like, it just kind of seems like you don't know what you're talking about. Because like, from what I've seen my whole life, Dominicans are very proud of who they are and where they come from.
Well,
And
don't you
they are very inclined to protect their own interests. But a lot of times they're not aware of um of what they're doing, but their behaviors speak for themselves.
being well don't you well everybody's proud to be where they're from. Being proud and being
You think so?
well, yeah, being proud and being nationalistic is two different things, don't you think?
I think they go hand in hand.
Okay. But whenever, you know, like whenever I speak to other people, yeah, they're proud, hey, listen, I'm Mexican, I'm Dominican, I say that all the time. I'm Dominican Ecuadorian, a lot of people might think I'm Haitian, but whatever. You know, it goes here and there, here and there, here and there. But like a lot of people, they're proud to, to say where they're from. But I've, like I said, when I was talking about nationalism, because that's what we're referring to, nationalism, a lot of people didn't know what I was talking about. There was no nationalist movement in Dominican Republic. Being proud to be Dominican, that's a different story, I believe. So why do you think nationalism and being proud to be Dominican is the same thing?
Like I said, it's all about nationalism is about your people. Nationalism is about protecting your people, your self-interest, the things that are going to benefit you, your children, your family, and your society.
Got it.
Dominicans are very nationalistic. Dominicans, when they go to another country,
Uh-huh.
they want to go back home. They don't like being in other countries. Some groups are not like that. Some groups don't mind being in a whole nother country. Like some groups will go to a country that's known for being racist. Known for being racist. They will go there. And in my mind, I don't think that's a proud person.
No disrespect, but if that's the case, using your logic, what's your parents' excuse for coming to America?
I mean, if you want to go there, I mean, the CIA is kind of responsible for, the country's state right now.
So
But
it's not the individuals in Dominican Republic that's responsible for what's happened in Dominican Republic. It's the CIA.
no, it is. It's both.
Oh, okay. But I'm just referring to that same question. You're talking about being proud, going to another country, and you gave the analogy of being, a racist country. Then what is your excuse? What's your parents' excuse for coming to the United States? United States is
I don't
somewhat.
think the United States is a racist country.
Have you not heard the anti-Dominican rhetoric coming from Jeff Sessions?
Dude, I don't think a lot of Americans even care about Dominicans, dude.
So how come Jeff Sessions says anti-Dominican things then?
I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't know. What has he said?
Well, he said that Dominicans don't contribute anything to this country. He said Dominicans just come in here, have babies, and become anchor citizens, and that we should stop it. Dominicans don't have any benefit or positive attributes economically to this country. That's what he said. So again, why what's your parents' excuse if we're going by based on your logic?
Bro, I don't like that. Okay, that's like one guy.
He's a
But if you,
he's a
but if
wait, hold on. Jeff Sessions is, do you know who Jeff Sessions is?
yeah, he's a politician.
Yeah, he was the
He
judge
worked in the Trump
appointed.
administration. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he left, but he was a very powerful guy with these type of ideologies.
Okay, but like, if you saw the State of the Union address, I think it was a 2019 or 2018 one. There was a moment where the president took time to congratulate a Dominican who works with ICE because he stopped like child traffickers or something. So like the president of the United States, who you called racist or whatever, he's congratulating this guy in front of the whole nation.
Well, slave masters back in the day used to congratulate their slaves on little things that they used to do. That doesn't really mean anything. You
Are
know,
you saying that Dominicans are slaves?
well, in this sense, I'm saying every non-white person living in the system of white supremacy is a slave. That's what I'm saying.
I
So,
don't think this is a white supremacist system. I think it's a white run system. It's ran by whites.
which which in turn would be white supremacists because you got to be
Not
supreme to
necessarily.
so how come whites are running it if they're the minority?
If the people in this country were really white supremacists, there would not be people from other continents here at this moment in the numbers that they are.
Like who?
Any group that's not from Europe,
Like Asians?
sure,
Okay.
that's one
That's one
large group.
example. That's one large example. That's correct. How come they're not being targeted with these ICE raids and Europeans aren't being targeted with these ICE raids? And I'm not talking about building a wall around China. They're talking about building a wall around Mexico. Do you not see that as a white supremacist talking point?
I Not really. I mean, you're assuming the intent. Um, you're assuming that the intent is that they don't want these people here because they think. I don't know what you mean by supremacy. I'm assuming that you mean like. Could you define that?
What white supremacy is? Sure. White supremacy is anybody who is classified as white, who classifies themselves as white, to mistreat and punish people classified as non-white. That's been the working definition this whole time, and evidence has not shown people deviate from that. When I say white supremacy, and when other people say white supremacy, they're not referring to all white people. What they're referring to is the ones who practice the system of white supremacy, who benefit from the system of white supremacy, and then there's just white people.
I don't believe that. I think if I were to get in the mind of a white supremacist, I don't think they would be thinking about non-whites as much as you think they do.
How so?
Because it would be irrelevant to them.
But
If I really thought
most
that if I really thought a group of people is inferior to me, I'm not gonna spend all my time thinking about them.
so how come most
As
of
far
the
as I'm concerned,
so
they're
how
just
come
another animal.
okay, so how come most of their laws are made to punish us if they're not thinking about us 24/7?
That's not true.
That's not true. Okay, so let's go with the stop and frisk. That's one law that went to punish us. We could go into the Rockefeller law. That's another law that punished us. We could go into housing discrimination. That's another law that punished us. So again, if they're not thinking about us 24/7, how come there's multiple laws that were made throughout history that went to punish us?
I don't think that's the I think, going back to this, I think you're assuming intent. So, someone could not want an African American to live in their neighborhood for different reasons. Um, but you're saying that the intent of specifically people who believe that what did you say? People who enjoy mistreating non-whites?
The definition of white supremacy,
Yeah.
I said people who are classified as white who mistreat and punish non-white people are white supremacists.
I don't know. I mean, I don't understand that definition, but I think that, people can have other reasons other than just wanting to be mean.
Okay, like what? Because you said
Okay, let's say you're white, and
uh-huh.
you send your kid to a school that has it's like 10% black or something.
Okay.
Your kid's getting, bullied by blacks,
Mhm.
and you say, well, I'm gonna take my kid to a school that's like all white. that kind of thing. You could say that that's white supremacy. I say um, that's just being a good parent.
Well, in this scenario, the kid's getting bullied. You know what I mean? And since they contributed that bullying to black behavior, then that's a big difference. I'm not here talking about, hey, listen, I'm white. Let me just go to a all white school. He's not gonna get bullied. There's a lot of white kids that's gonna bully another white kids. That's bullying is not gonna stop regardless of race. By the fact that in this scenario, the white parent decided to go to another all white school because of race, that's white supremacy right there. And
No, that's not true, because when you have different racial groups, there's more bullying, specifically based on race.
other racial groups with more bullying. Can you give me an example, please?
Dude, listen, you put an African American in a Dominican classroom, he will, trust me, he will feel that bullying.
He will feel that bullying.
Yes, you put any kid that's not Dominican in a Dominican classroom, to some degree, right? Because kids don't know any better. To some degree, they're gonna get bullied because they're not.
Well, again, we're talking about kids. Kids think.
Yes.
Kids think fucking holding a firecracker in their hands is a good idea. That doesn't mean that it's automatically right. Bullying is gonna happen. It happens in every community. White on white bullying happens almost every day on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? So
I have never been bullied by someone that's Dominican, ever.
again,
Vice versa.
again, bullying always happens in every class and every race. I'm not saying here that bullying doesn't exist. What I'm saying is it happens if it's an all-white school or a mixed school. It's going to happen.
But it's more likely if the kids look different and if they talk different.
But what you're trying to correlate is that the reason why they're being bullied is because they're different. That's not the reason why. Kids bully for multiple reasons.
Listen, dude. You can have a group of Dominican kids, right?
Uh-huh.
If there's a kid in that group who's too dark, they're gonna call that kid a Haitian.
Uh-huh.
And he's gonna hear that shit
and
that's not gonna stop there.
And let me just ask you a question. Haitian, that's a racial epithet amongst Dominicans, correct?
I mean, it's just a description. It's like,
no, but you guys use it in a negative way, no?
Not really.
Not really.
It can seem
so
that
when your
way,
friend was calling me a Haitian, that was not in a negative way.
It's just that your views are so un-Dominican that anyone basically we're trained to think that anyone who says that they're Dominican and doesn't act Dominican is automatically Haitian. That's just how we think.
Okay, so why?
It's not just him.
So why the negative attributes to someone that's darker, calling them Haitian?
Because Haitians are dark.
But you guys view them in a negative way.
Yeah, for historical reasons.
Exactly. You guys view them in a negative way. So thank you for proving my point that you guys use that as a racial epithet.
No. Your point wasn't proven. I didn't say that we call them Haitian because of history. No, we just call them that because that's what they are.
My question was, do you call someone Haitian because of a racial epithet? Is that a racial epithet? I
call them that because if they sound Haitian, they're Haitian to me. I don't care.
Because you view Haitians in a negative way, correct?
Do I view them in a negative way as a group? Yes.
Exactly. So you use that that word, you're a Haitian, you use it as a verb, correct?
I just use it to identify them.
As a verb, correct?
I just use it to identify them.
It's because you're using it in a negative way.
Not necessarily. I'm just identifying them.
Got it. Okay. So let's get into this whole Haitian and Dominican thing, which me and you talked about privately. Um, Before we get into that, let me ask you a couple of questions. In most of your videos, you start off most of your videos with, I'll say, a homage and a homage or whatever to Spain, with multiple flags, multiple paintings and things, and then you end it off with the
founding fathers.
the American founding fathers, and then you end the whole thing off. It's like a 30-second thing, right? What you always do in your videos, and then you end it off with Trujillo in the front and all the founding fathers of the Dominican Republic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, do you feel like you have a strong connection to Spain?
I don't know. That's kind of a weird question. Like, do you mean like modern Spain? What do you mean? Could you be a little more specific?
Yeah. I see in most of your videos the rhetoric that you put, and most of the ones that you agree with your friend about is that we have to preserve the Spanish heritage. We got to preserve the Spanish culture. So I get confused, and I'm thinking, do they think that they're Spanish, or are they just want, like, I don't know where's the gauging at. So can you please clarify a little bit?
Okay. Let me try to explain. Okay, so do you understand how the Jewish identity works? So like someone cannot look traditionally Jewish, right? Still be Jewish.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with Spaniards and Hispanics. It's the same concept. While you may not, while some people may not look, while their features don't align 100% with a Spaniard, that's just like how they think, though.
Okay.
That's just like that. That's just like that's just something that was passed down to them, to Hispanics.
Okay. So you paying homage to
It's
Spain.
like paying homage to myself in a way, but
Okay, to yourself.
really to my ancestors. So I guess my great grandfather.
Okay, so in the beginning of our conversation, you said you were triracial. So how come
Sure.
how come you're only paying homage to one part of your race?
Because it's the only part I understand.
Oh, the only part you understand. Have you tried to understand the other parts?
I can't.
Why?
I just can't. That's like asking. That's literally like if you were to go to Spain, and you were to ask him the same question you're asking me now. It's the same thing. Like, it's just not like something that I can understand. Like, I cannot understand what it's like to be like not Hispanic.
Well, Hispanic doesn't mean Spanish.
It does though.
It doesn't. Hispanic actually is a made up term.
It does historically. Yes, it does.
Hispanic.
That's where the word comes from.
Hispanic is a made up term. It's a made up term in the U.S. We had
Sure,
no
it's
say
an
so.
English translation of the Spanish word. Sure.
But the thing is, again, you're triracial. Hispanics are mostly triracial. So how come you haven't went out your way to understand your other sides, like your black and your native side?
Because it's just not like something that's like, it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, I just can't understand what that's like.
Well, I'm Latino. I was born Latino, and I don't understand how Spanish is.
I feel like if I do that, I feel like I'm pretending to be something that I'm not.
Well, understanding someone's culture and understanding your heritage and understanding your ancestors is not pretending who you are. Pretending who you are is just choosing one side. That's
Not really.
it is because there's
I don't think you can identify as multiple races. I don't think that's like if you identify that way, you have like schizophrenia or something. If you identify with multiple personalities,
so what race do you identify with? Because you told me in the beginning of this you're triracial. So what race do you identify with? More Spanish? More what?
I just identify with Western culture,
Well, that's not a race.
Hispanic culture.
Hispanic is not a race.
Sure, but it's a it's a branch of the Spanish race.
Okay, so it's safe to say that you identify with Spanish.
Not necessarily, but
Is it safe to assume that?
not really because
But you just said a Hispanic is a branch of the Spanish, so that is something that you are saying. So Spanish is in Europe, white.
yeah, but like I didn't grow up in Spain, so it's like
So now, out of your own words, what do you identify as then?
um like I said earlier, triracial, but in terms of like my personality, it's just more of a Western
Okay.
like mindset, I
Okay.
guess. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay. So now, what do you think that Spanish people, the Spaniards, what do
Uh,
you think the Spaniards gave our ancestors, if you want to claim them or not, the Taínos that was in what they called Haiti? What do you think that they gave them that actually bettered their life? Because every time I get into conversations like this, they say that the Spaniards brought in a lot of culture, a lot of excuse me, a lot of
advancement.
advancements. So, what do you think that the Spaniards brought in?
Um, See, the historical point of view that I have is different from that. I don't identify as a Native American person.
Okay, so what did your ancestors bring to what the natives called Haiti?
Um, well, what did they bring? Catholicism. They brought technology, uh, information, a concept of civilization, um, a concept of morals, which kind of goes back to the Catholicism. Um, it's
So,
kind of the thing that's
okay,
kind of like what they brought, I guess. I don't know, like
so do you,
European culture, European society.
okay, so what part of morals and Catholicism made them enslave those type of people who they found in Haiti and renamed Española? What made them do that? If they're talking about they brought morals and Christianity and all that other stuff.
Um, I mean, it wasn't all Spaniards. There were Spaniards who were against that kind of thing, who actively tried to stop that kind of thing. For example, Dominicans is the Dominican order. That's a group that um, cared about Tainos being treated properly. Like respecting the rights of Tainos, and I don't think that that was like something that was done to the degree that the Black Legend says.
Okay. Um well, I would like disagree with the whole Catholic. The way I see it is that religion to any group that was subjugated was used as a way to subjugate them way more. That's how I see it historically. That's how it's been proven. Do you agree with that or no?
Um, I mean, if you come up with some religion that says that people have to like work for free, I guess, but that's not what Catholicism is. Catholicism says that if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you'll be saved.
Okay.
Summarized. That's what it is. And then there's like
And
different traditions.
it also says don't kill, right? Don't lie, don't rape,
Yeah,
right? How come the Spanish did that?
everyone does that. It's just
How come the Spanish did that? I'm talking about the Spanish. You're talking about they brought in
because
Catholicism.
people can't help that they're sinners.
Oh, so they just okay to sin only certain parts on what
It's
they
never okay to sin, but people can't stop.
okay, so they can't stop. All right. Let's move on to the whole Haitian thing because me and you were talking about the whole Haiti and Haitians, and you call Haitians racist.
Yeah,
You said back in the day that they were racist. So can you
they
expound?
still are.
Can you expound on what me and you were talking about over the phone?
Yeah, they're a fundamentally racist society. They
Can
believe in,
can you
huh?
expound? Can you expound on it? Like historically, you were saying that they killed all the French and everything. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, they wanted to create a black republic. They killed anyone who was white or mixed race, and not just like in their part of the island. They also went to Santo Domingo and they killed people there too.
Okay.
And it
Uh,
was just based off race because I mean those Dominicans had nothing to do with what was happening on the other side of the island.
yeah.
So
Now, well, a couple of things. I don't see the Haitians as racist. I see them as freeing themselves from oppressor rule. That's what I see them as. I see them as a group of people taking matters into their own hands and actually, killing their slave masters and killing your oppressor. To you, that's racist.
no, but killing people who had nothing to do with that is just based off race.
Well,
Yeah, that's racist,
well,
dude.
well. Do you blame those? First of all, the thing is they didn't kill every white person because there was some white people that they were cool with, and
Does that make it okay?
they let live. No, well that makes a hole in your logic about being racist. Um, they let certain white people live. The thing is that who they were killing were the ones that oppressed them and
Not
contributed
just
to
the ones
them.
that oppressed them. They killed people who had nothing to do with that. They also killed people who tried to stop that.
What do you mean try to stop
They
that?
also killed people who were against slavery.
Do you have evidence for that?
Not on me right now, but if you research it, I mean, I'm
Okay,
sure you'll
but
find it.
but I do know. I'm not gonna sit here and say that Haitians are like the golden lamb. That they are innocent. I'm not gonna sit here and say that because historically they have done some atrocities in the Dominican Republic with the whole beheading of Maca. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit here and just be one sided. I'm gonna be truthful about history.
But it's
Um,
not like it's not like it's history. I mean, they're still doing those kinds of things today.
and they're not getting punished for it.
I mean, they deport them, but they just come back.
Wait, hold on, wait. You mean to tell me they commit capital murder and they just get deported?
Yeah, oftentimes they'll just deport them and they
Really,
come back.
really? I don't know. DR needs to shape up their rules because I don't.
Clearly,
Yeah, I think it's a problem with DR that we should be talking about, not with the Haitians. The fact that you have a whole
wait,
country
wait, wait. It's
allowing.
our fault that they're killing people.
No, it's the government's fault. It's the government's fault that's allowing these type of things to happen. Why are they allowing them? Because they're not being punished.
So should the government kill them?
The government should be setting a standard. If anybody commits capital murder, deporting them it shouldn't be the solution. If you commit capital murder, you gotta go into a trial, found guilty, and then the decision is gonna be made. But you mean to tell me they just So you mean to tell me I could just go over there illegally, kill a bunch of people, and then I just get deported and I'm good? Shit, DR is a fucking beautiful place then. Shit. Come on, dude. That doesn't sound right, bro.
That's what's happening, dude.
Really? I don't know. I'm gonna have to check in on that. That doesn't sound right. I don't know no country that allows certain things like that to happen. Like, not even here, you know?
Yeah, well, that kind of thing happens too often over there because money talks.
Money talk. So you saying that Haitians got money?
I don't know. Do they?
I don't know. You're the one that said money talks, bro. So you know what I'm saying? Like, do they? I don't know. I'm just going based on what you're telling me.
I'm just saying things are different in the Dominican Republic. You don't have the same kind of like judicial system. You don't have the same kind of justice.
Got it. Okay.
It's just different.
Okay. So you think that Dominican Republic's immigration issue is because of Haitians?
Obviously, I mean they're the biggest group and they're the biggest illegal group.
So even though you have numbers showing the opposite of that, you don't believe.
Could you repeat that?
Even though numbers are showing the opposite of that, you still won't believe.
There's no other group that's migrating that's larger than Haitians. There's millions of Haitians.
No, there's not. It's Asians. Asian people are the majority of people going.
You're telling me there are millions of Asian people.
Yeah.
Moving
this is
to the Dominican Republic.
Dude, this is documented. Yes. Viva Extina even made a whole video about this.
There's not dude. There's like tens of thousands. There's not millions.
And, dude, the majority of immigrants going over there are Asian people. This is documents. This is documented fact, bro. You know,
that's not true, dude.
Really? You don't think it's true because you haven't either seen it or you haven't researched it? No,
because I know that Haitians are the largest group.
How do you know that?
Because I've seen it on Dominican news. I've heard it.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna just trust the media. Is that what we're doing?
I mean, that's just one way that I've heard it.
Okay.
But, like, I don't see any evidence that suggests that there's any other group that's bigger than them.
I even did a video on it. It's Asians until like they change it otherwise. But for what I know is Asian people.
So what are the numbers?
I believe it was something around 60,000 the last year that they recorded it. On top of that, the number of Haitians that are coming in aren't matching up to the number of Asians coming in every year. Also, the economy is kind of being halted because the majority of those Asian immigrants aren't being, taxed the right way. They're sending all that money back to China, to the point where the Dominican Republic even has to, talk to the Chinese government to see if they can even have like a treaty or whatever the case is for their citizens there, because shit is getting out of hand.
You just said that last year there was 60,000. That doesn't compare to millions.
From last year of Haitians, millions of Haitians coming in last year?
There are millions of Haitians in the country.
No. Hold on. You said millions of Haitians are coming into the country last year?
No, I said that there are millions of Haitians.
Oh, that's different than coming into. That's way different. There could be millions. I'm just saying
that's irrelevant to me. What's relevant to me is how big the group is.
How big the group is of Asians is actually tens of millions. So if we really want to go there with numbers, I was just telling you how many people are going into the country last year that they counted was 60,000.
Bro, there's only 10 million people on the island.
Okay, and the majority of them are Asian.
No, they're not. They're Dominican.
The majority of them are Asians because those are the immigrants that are going over there. You know, if you really want to go back down by numbers, you know what I'm saying. But if you're talking about now Haitians going over there, for what I've seen, it wasn't comparable to 60,000. And now you're talking about millions of people living over there. I don't know about that. You know, I really don't know about that. They might be, they might not. I don't know. But what is your issue with the Haitian people living in Dominican Republic?
They hate Dominicans.
What makes you say that?
History.
Well, history that fucking Junior got killed by a bunch of Trinitarios. Does that mean all Trinitarios hate other Dominicans?
No, because that was one incident.
No, but this is history. We're talking about
There,
history,
there
right?
has been multiple incidents of that Haitians had with Dominicans, negative ones, throughout all our history and even today.
And that's supposed to mean that they hate Dominicans, not because of individualities, issues that they have with one another.
No, because as a group, they're just like that.
What do you mean, as a group, they're like that?
That's just how they behave.
Okay. So, what do you think the solution should be then?
To deport them, obviously.
Well, that's not gonna fix anything. Don't you think they've been doing that this whole time?
Yeah, I mean, but they're not doing it properly. So like, sometimes they'll just pay the guards to get through, and they just find ways to come back. I mean, what really needs to happen is that they need to be deported, and there needs to be a stronger presence at the border, and the guards need to be incentivized to not take bribes.
Okay. I can see that. I'm not gonna lie. I can see that. You know, getting deported, coming right back. I can see that. So last question. Let me ask. Do you believe that the Spaniards view Dominicans in a positive way?
It depends.
On
Because there are quite a few Dominican gangs in Spain that cause some problems. So it depends, like, who you ask, but yeah, it just depends.
Do you think Spaniards view Latin people in a positive way?
Yeah,
How so?
we are like we're so similar. How could they not?
So, even though that there's articles of Spaniards being interviewed and they're stating that they hate the fact that Latin people
Yeah,
call themselves Spanish, even though they know they're not Spanish.
I have never
You
seen
know,
that.
I'll send you articles, bro.
No, I have never seen a Latin person call themselves Spanish.
I've seen that you're one of them.
I have never called myself
you,
Spanish.
you're one of them. You'd say Hispanic is a translation of Spanish. You know what I'm saying? But I've seen a lot of people, you know, a lot of Latin people who I'm like, so what are you? What are you? I'm Mexican or I'm Dominican. I'm like, but that's not a race. Oh, I'm Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, because they don't know. They're just saying that's the language. You know what I'm saying? But that's, you know, one instance. That's one interview that I've seen. There's another one that I've seen where they say that Spaniards despise Dominicans the most. There's other interviews I've seen of Dominican racism in Spain being practiced to like a 40-something-year-old woman in a bus or whatever the case is. So my question to you, if they see Latin people in a positive way, how come these certain racist incidences happen?
That's not a societal that's not evidence that the society has that viewpoint.
What do you mean it's not evidence?
It's not evidence that, because you're saying like as a society they feel this way,
I am saying that. You're right.
and that's just not the case. There might be like some people who don't like Dominicans because of what I mentioned before, um, but to generalize
So
and say that all Spaniards have a negative view of Dominicans is I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
it's hyperbolic. Is that what you're saying?
It just I don't know. It's
It's
just
like a
I don't
reach.
see the evidence.
Got it. So the fact that they have certain festivals, certain historical, things that they do based around certain racist, figures like
You
wearing
say
the.
racist a lot. What do you mean?
Well, I was gonna explain that.
What does that mean?
I was gonna explain that. Wearing like the KKK robe, which actually the American people took over, the racist American people took over, and turned into the KKK. But they wearing those similar robes. They're wearing blackface. Those type of things to you
Yeah.
isn't indicative with the society's viewpoint on race.
Those things don't have to do with Hispanic people from what I think. I don't know. Blackface. I've never seen a Hispanic person care about that.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking
Black
about.
issues.
I'm not talking about caring about blackface. What I'm talking about is the culture that they come from, the culture that they're.
Doesn't bother me.
I'm not asking if it bothers you. What I'm saying is you don't see there's nothing, there's no connection to the certain racism that they distribute to Latin people with their culture if they all don't think like that.
I don't think that's racism.
So what do you think that is?
Just tradition.
Okay. So wearing blackface is just tradition. It's totally fine. It's okay.
I don't care about this kind of thing. I don't think most Hispanics care about this kind of thing.
You're absolutely right. They don't, which they should, but they don't. Okay. Okay. A couple, just a few other questions, and then from there we'll just wrap it up, bruh. Just wrap it up. What is your overall message on your YouTube channel?
Well, my message is to sort of remind Dominicans our roots, and kind of highlight that the things that Dominicans love so much about our culture, our society, come from Spain, and mainly from Spain, and that they should not surrender those things to people who despise them.
Like Catholicism, is that like one of the things that come from Spain?
Absolutely.
And you're saying as Dominicans we should cherish those type of things, correct?
I believe that everyone should have a good relationship with Jesus Christ. But sure, I think it would be great if the Dominicans would try to embody, the teachings in the Bible more.
Got it. Okay. Okay, man. Cool. Well, can you?
I have a question for you.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure. Go ahead, bro.
because you like to say the word racist a lot. I'm pretty sure you've called some of my viewpoints or something I've said racist.
Uh huh.
Could you explain how anything I've said on my channel is racist?
Well, the fact that you constantly view Haitians, and to me, that's just a code word for black. You view black folks in a negative light. Um,
Why is that?
to why is that racist, or why is that a problem for me?
No, why do you think I view certain groups negatively.
To be completely honest, I didn't know much about why you did. I thought it was just a little you were just going through a phase because you are young. You are you're probably going to college or whatever the case is. And I really thought you wasn't really believing this. You were like just here to troll. But the more I spoke to you and most of the other videos that you were putting out, it was very apparent to me that something either negative happened, that you contribute all black people the same, or something must have happened. So that's the reason why. And during this conversation, I'm not saying that that is necessarily true. What I am gonna say is, maybe you need a little bit more education to really figure out what the real root cause of why these certain people that you see negatively are in the position that they're in. That's why. Me seeing you as racist, no, I see you more as confused. The reason
But
why
you dedicated an entire video to me, saying that I'm a white supremacist, that I'm racist.
Whoa, wait, hold on, wait. White supremacist, hold on, wait. Did I say white supremacist? I think I called you a mascot.
Pretty sure you
mascot.
use the word white supremacy a lot.
No, I called your friend a white supremacist. That I did say. Your friend's a white supremacist.
And that's not true.
And of course it is, because look at his viewpoints. Look at what he talks about. Look at some of the he even said. He even said that he doesn't even want to be next or mixed with a dark Dominican girl. That should be
I don't care.
That should be extremely offensive to you, since you're more melanated than he is.
Why would I be offended? I'm a guy.
Dude, that whole gender thing goes out the window when he talks about melanated. So he's not talking about all Dominicans. That's
fine.
If a person, I'm gonna tell you something right now.
If he wants to do that,
if a person like that gets into power in Dominican Republic, and you're in Dominican Republic, do you
if he
really
gets into power? Then that's
listen to me. If a person like that gets into power in Dominican Republic, do you really think he has the best interest for you? If he goes around saying, "I don't care about dark Dominicans, I care about light Dominicans," do you really think he has your best interest at heart?
Where are you getting this from?
From his words.
I have never heard that.
You've never heard him say, I'd rather be with a light Dominican than a dark Dominican girl? All right.
Here's the problem with your channel. You say things that are not true.
Like what?
You make assumptions.
Like what?
Right? And I don't know why you make assumptions, but you really need to listen more to like what someone is saying and why they're saying it. You have to try to empathize with them, and I don't think you have that capacity. And that's part of the reason, and not to be a dick, but that's part of the reason why I didn't want to do this interview at first, because I don't think you can empathize with Dominicans, and that to me is problematic.
Now, let me ask you, since you did this interview and you don't think I can empathize, did I prove you wrong or did I prove you right?
I still don't think you empathize.
Got it. Gotcha.
No. I think you empathize more with Haitians.
See, there you go, trolling. There you go, you trolling. There we go, we're trolling. Now let me ask you, why do you think that I empathize with Haitians, or as you really want to say, black folks? Why do you think I empathize with black folks?
No, African Americans is like a different thing.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, they're way different. Why do you think I empathize with Haitians?
Because, like, why are you interested in how they're being treated?
What do you mean, what am I interested? I'm interested, first of all,
care about them?
I've never made a video anything about me interested about Haitians.
Dude,
I've never. What video did I make? Can you point out right now that I talk about Haitians and I'm interested in Haitians and Haiti and all this other stuff and that the way they're being treated? I never made a video about that. All I made a video about was me calling out the hypocrisies on certain people like you and other people who think like you, and the fact that these Haitian people are being mistreated. But I never made a whole huge video talking about, hey, listen, the Haitians and all this other stuff. I never did all of
I'd say
that.
you made a huge whole video. I'm just saying, like, how could you empathize with a group of people that have done so much harm to your supposed ancestors?
Because I'm gonna answer that right
no
now. I'm
different
gonna
from
answer
the
that right now.
dynamic
I'm gonna answer
between
that.
African American
I'm gonna answer
and an
that.
Anglo-Saxon. It's the same thing.
I'm gonna answer that right now. Because those Haitians aren't the representation of the whole lot of Haitians who did whatever they did back in the 1500s. Because if anything, Dominicans got their payback with Trujillo and the Parsley murders. So I think y'all pretty much even now, right?
No, we're not.
Oh, so what do you think we need to do then?
We're really not.
So what do you think we need to do then? We need to do the same thing that they did.
I just think they need to be deported. I think that's the best outcome for everybody. I think if they get deported, that's the best outcome for everybody.
But my thing is, why do you care so much about Haitians and Dominicans if you live here?
Because I plan on also living there.
Okay, so have you donated to any Dominican health organization, Dominicans foundation over there that's politically run? Have you ever done that?
I have.
Like what? Like who?
I've donated to a nationalist group.
A nationalist group, but you never donated for the people to help them out over there, right?
I'm planning to. I mean, I'm still working on my degree. I don't have. You can't imagine how busy I am. I can't really get like a job on the side or anything right now. Like I'm just way too busy. So you're asking me, should I set up the interview for another day? I'm gonna be even busier like in the future. So
yeah, well, whatever you're doing, I hope more power to you. Hope you get to where you need to get to. You know what I'm saying? With a degree, more doors open up. You know what I mean? The thing is that I know you have a negative connotation with me, and hopefully I answer some of your questions.
Well, I mean, you dedicated a video to me, of course. I mean, obviously, I mean, do you not understand cause and effect?
Well, do you understand why I did that video?
Because
no, I'm asking.
You
because
empathize with Haitians.
Yo, dude, you cool, man. Yo, you cool, bro. This guy. No, it wasn't because of that. Because one, I wanted your attention. To be completely honest, I wanted this interview done a long time ago. I was even asking people around your circle to ask you, hey, bro, hey, ask him if he could come on. You know what I mean? And nothing happened. So I'm like, all right, whatever. To be honest, the second thing was to get your attention. The first thing was just to go and break down your rhetoric, because it was.
I don't understand my rhetoric.
Your rhetoric is pro Spaniard and how Dominicans it's not pro Spanish.
It's not.
So why do you have all of these Spanish paraphernalia in the beginning of your videos?
How many seconds is that? Like 30 seconds?
Yeah, 30.
The majority of it isn't even it's talking about Dominicans or Hispanics or Latino.
But are you not pro Spanish? Because you just said Hispanic is a subset of Spanish.
I'm not anti-Spanish.
Yeah, but you're pro Spanish.
I'm not anti-Spanish.
So that means you're pro Spanish. If you're not anti something, then you're the opposite, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, then you're pro Spanish. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. All I'm saying is I was going against your rhetoric, which you're pro Spanish. That's the main reason why I did that video. And the fact is, people like you and your friend are very dangerous to the Latin community because you cause a lot of confusion.
I cause confusion?
You do. You do cause confusion.
I don't think I'm the one causing confusion.
I do you do cause confusion because
Listen, when I talk
because
to a group of Dominicans about my ideas, they cheer,
the
they
thing
clap their hands.
and that's the thing. You're too focused down on
Because
Dominicans.
I'm Dominican, dude.
You don't see the larger picture that Dominicans
The larger
are
picture is irrelevant.
the larger picture shouldn't be relevant, because if you're really talking about Dominican and having a Dominican positive structure, you should be seeing that Dominicans are also being targeted by white supremacy, which I've always talked about. I've always pointed out. And the thing is, you're too just focused on, Dominican, Spanish, Dominican, Spanish. It's gonna hurt your cause in the long run. This is what I see,
How do you
because
feel about people who, you know, these people who say that we should thank Haiti they say that we should thank them for liberating us from our oppressors. What do you think about those people? Because you never talk about them.
repeat that again, because I didn't understand the question.
What do you think about people who say that Haitians um, freed Dominicans from their oppressors?
Yeah, shout out to
They
them.
were doing us a favor.
I absolutely, no, I don't know, talking about favor. They did the whole island a favor. Shout out to them, because they freed everybody from all slavery, and
They
that
enslaved us.
I'm sorry, what?
They enslaved us, dude. What are you talking about?
Wait. Did the Haitians not free the Dominicans from that side of the island from Spanish,
They freed their guys.
and then they enslaved the
Our
Spanish,
society.
the Dominicans? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
For what I've read, the only Dominicans that they enslaved was the lighter skinned Dominicans, not the dark
And
ones.
that's okay.
No, wait, hold on. Not the dark ones. The reason why is because all the light skinned Dominicans that they enslaved were actually the ones oppressing the darker ones.
Dude,
That's for what I've read. I could be completely wrong, dude.
every Dominican got, every Dominican, they fought together to create a country.
Uh-huh.
They fought like this was an effort with every group that was in that part of the island.
Okay.
And they didn't want to be, because like Haiti was just like milking the society so that they could pay off France.
Uh-huh.
And they go around saying that they did us a favor. Are you crazy?
Mm.
And you never talk about that.
Well, because I don't talk about
You never talk about
I don't
that.
talk about international issues like that. What I talk about is American things, because I'm in America, And the thing is, everything that affects us here is going to affect us abroad, a little bit if we really think about it. But I have no interest in talking about international issues. Maybe, when something crazy happens, I will. But I have no interest in talking about international issues. I'm in America, bro. The same thing how I find it hilarious that most of you guys talk about Dominican nationality and all that, but are benefiting from American, government run, schools or whatever the case is, or government funding or whatever it is. You guys live in America. If you guys are so proud Dominicans, which you guys are, and shout out to you guys. There's nothing wrong with that. Then go to Dominican Republic. Fix that country up, because it's a mess right now. Let's keep it real. It's a mess. But I got no interest in talking about how certain people view what Haitians did. You know what I'm saying? I'm worried about uniting Latin people together in one cause.
You think Latin people want to unite with other groups?
What I think is not what I think is what should happen.
That's not going to happen.
It doesn't matter what is going to happen. It should happen.
Your point of view is very unpopular.
Why don't you think it should happen?
It's not going to.
Why you think it shouldn't?
Because because we should remain Hispanic. Why would we want to be another group?
See, now my thing is uniting Latin people together and, promoting black empowerment. That was my thing from the jump.
Okay, dude, but that has nothing to do with
hold on.
Hispanic.
Wait, check this out. I just say uniting Latin people, and you went from uniting Latin people to talking about uniting with another group. You're already talking about sex and all that. You're thinking about it, because that's exactly where you went to. Becoming another group. Who said we're going to become another group? I never said that.
Obviously, that's what happens.
But why do you have to go to sex automatically? That goes to show that's
you want to unite groups that are.
I never said that. I say unite Latin people together in one code.
You said black, and then you said Latin and black.
No, and I said promote black empowerment. Why?
Sure.
Now, why did I say that?
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Okay, that's cool.
Hispanic people they don't have a favorable view of Africans like many other groups.
Oh, I could care less about that. I'll fix that.
In fact, I think, and I think Africans would do better in white countries than in Latin countries. And I think that what you're saying is not based on reality, and you might think that what you're saying is not that important, but they're gonna watch your video, and they're gonna think that it's okay for them to go to certain countries, and they have this picture in their mind of what it's gonna be like, and they're just going to be crushed. And I mean, you can keep doing that. That's fine. But
what are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? Other countries?
The reality.
Wait, dude. What are you talking about? Other countries? When did I talk about other countries?
No. You're saying that you want Hispanics and blacks to unite.
I said Latin unity. What? Now let's break down what I mean by that. Latin unity. What do I mean by that? A lot of Latin people are
what does the word Latin mean?
Non-white, meaning that we shouldn't be identifying with Hispanic.
Everyone who's non-white is Latin?
Listen to what I'm saying. Latin unity. Latin, the word Latin, meaning non-white. Everybody from Latin America should not be identifying with Hispanic, because that's not our identifier. Should be identifying with Latin. No, I'm not crazy. This is historical. This is historical fact. So
what language do Latinos speak?
I'm gonna answer that. So once we unite all together as one group, meaning Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, Ecuadorians, Hungarians, all of us, we're seeing each other in one code and one code only, saying that we're Latin, we're fighting for our interest. That's what I talk about. And promoting black empowerment, meaning that we're going to be uniting with black folks to fight that one enemy called white supremacy, because that's that enemy that is actually affecting black and Latin people all together in one fell swoop.
Oh man, you think white people are the problem? You think Europeans are the problem?
White supremacists is the problem. I didn't say white people. I said white supremacists.
Oh my goodness.
Point to me that they're not.
Oh my gosh. I mean, they send aid. European countries send aid to Latin countries.
Okay, and once again, I'm showing you evidence in this country how they decimate Latin communities and decimate Latin people left and right. Yeah,
but that's not as a group.
That is as a group. What are you talking about?
No,
Latin people are getting deported left and right. What are you talking about?
Not Latin people.
Latin citizens.
If you're a citizen, you can't get deported.
Yes, you can, because there's news articles every day coming out that Latin U.S. citizens are being deported. So what are you talking about?
That's literally not even like, you can't do that.
You can't. You're right. You can't. So how come they're doing it?
It's a mistake.
So how come they're doing it? The main person was probably that Dominican dude who you talked about Trump giving an award to. He was probably the main one. But what I'm telling you is that's what's happening. So how come you're telling me that that's not a real life effect?
Okay, so basically you don't like Europeans.
No, well, I didn't say that. I said I don't like white supremacists. Europeans are not white supremacists.
Oh Lord, what do you mean by white?
What do you mean?
Who's white?
What do you mean? What do I mean by white?
What do you mean white supremacy?
The dominant society, white supremacy.
The dominant society where?
I mean, where globally, the dominant society is white supremacy.
What?
What a part of it don't you understand?
If you go okay, so if you go to China, China
Uh-huh.
is a white supremacist society.
In this scenario,
You said it's globally, right?
no. What are you telling me right now? Because in this, are you getting a
You
scenario
said
right
white
now?
supremacy. You said white supremacy.
It's a global thing. It's a global thing.
Global thing. Okay.
Hmm.
Is China a white supremacist nation?
No, it's not.
Then it's not globally.
It's not a nation because look at the question you asked me. Is China a white supremacist nation? No, it's not. Of course, it's not. Is it run by white supremacists? Of course, it is.
It's not run by Chinese people.
Is it run by white supremacists? Of course, it is. Chinese people. That's negating anything. Who's the real people running it, making all the rules and all that? Those are white supremacists.
So every government official is in on this.
Any government official who makes laws against
Against
decimating
who?
any government official who makes laws against us Latin and
Who?
Black folks, decimating our communities, bringing in crack to our communities, messing it up and funneling our kids into special ed. That's a white supremacist.
No, dude, that's just corruption.
It's called that's just another word for white supremacy. Have you are you telling me that does not happen? That does not exist?
Uh, your definition really does not make sense.
Okay.
Because from what I've heard, what I've read, white supremacy means that a person believes that whites are superior to other groups. That's what
Uh-huh.
that really means, and that's just it's just not like you can't build a society on that kind of thing. Or let
They
me say,
they have United States
where
was built on white supremacy. What are you talking about? Our founding forefathers put that in our constitution.
the United States
Was
has
built
always
on white
listen, the
supremacy.
United States has always been a white nation.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
a white supremacist nation. Of course, there's something wrong with that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is because they don't see you as equal. So you're saying
It
that's
doesn't
okay?
matter because it's not my society.
Wait. It doesn't matter that they don't see you as equal.
Because it's not my
So
society.
why are you still here in this society? They don't see you as equal.
Because they don't view me that way.
I'm asking you a question. Why are you still in the society that doesn't view you as equal?
Because they don't view me that way.
Regardless if they don't view you that way, why are you here?
Because I want to be here. Because I was born here.
So you choose to be oppressed. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not oppressed. That's the thing.
You are. You are. I believe that you see it. You
No.
are, but you don't want to admit it.
No.
Yeah, I do. I do.
No,
I,
I think that I have a lot of opportunities that I am taking advantage of. And I'm grateful to taxpayers. I'm grateful to those people who have opened their country to me and my family. And I won't take that for granted. And I'll speak in their interest when the time arrives. But I don't I don't believe that you can I don't believe that um, that outside of white societies that the belief in white supremacy is that prominent, and I don't think that it governs societies that are not European.
okay, gotcha. But we have evidence that the United States was founded based on those principles, though.
Sure, a European country.
Yeah, that said that we need to preserve a country for white men and white people. The
What if people
superiority.
started going to Africa and just like taking over Africa? Would you have a problem with that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. What happened?
Would you have a problem with people going to Africa, other groups, and taking over the continent, taking over the resources and the land
Well,
for
that's a
themselves?
weird question because I don't know what that has to do with
Would you
me.
have a problem with that?
But that's happening now, so yeah, obviously I have an issue with that. They shouldn't be going to another country and raping the
So why
resources.
is it okay when other groups do it in white societies?
Why is it okay that other groups doing what societies? Like what?
Going to the society, taking resources, and taking land. Why is that okay?
Who said that that's okay? When did I ever approve of that?
I'm asking you, why is that okay?
I never said it was okay.
So you don't think it's okay?
No, nobody should be going to no land and raping it and stealing the resources from the people that live there.
So why do you have a problem with Europeans creating laws to protect their interests?
Well, what? That was a weird ass connection that you didn't even connect. What are you talking about?
So why do you have a problem with Europeans and European countries creating laws to protect European interests?
Like what? What laws are they putting in on the books that protects the European interests?
Like the older immigration laws that said that people could only migrate from Europe.
Uh-huh. So
Why do you have a problem with that kind of thing?
well, I got nothing to do with European law. Either way, if they're out there oppressing a group and victimizing them and vitalizing them, saying that they're the villain and they should be out of here. Obviously, I have a problem with that. But I always focus on American issues. So the same thing that happens in England is happening here.
You want to know what's one of the biggest issues that the country is facing right now?
What, Europe?
No, the United States.
What?
Is that there is way too many illegal immigrants and legal immigrants coming into the country to the point that Donald Trump may very well be the last Republican president. And if that happens, if things continue the way that they are right now, if the immigration problem is not fixed, the people who have the guns, the resources, the farmland are going to do something about it.
Let me ask you something. Do
you understand what the bigger issue at hand is?
Immigration is not an issue. Statistically speaking,
immigration is not an issue.
Immigration is not an issue. Statistically speaking, immigrants actually boost the economy and are great benefit to the economy.
Have you ever seen
these are economists?
These are non-whites vote.
These are economists. What they're talking about, non-whites vote, I believe, Democrat, but that
overwhelmingly.
That doesn't mean that they're gonna get any change. I'm not pro-Democrat, if that's what you think. I'm not pro-Republican either.
Whether you're a pro-Republican, Democrat, whether I am, that's irrelevant. What I'm saying is that I am trying to avoid a conflict in the United States because white people, the people who built this country, the people who have most of the resources, the people who have most of the weapons, are losing their grasp of power. And I think that people who support that are going to regret it.
Wait, but you're not white, so why do you care if they're losing the grasp of power?
Because it's in my interest that never happens.
What interest? You're not white.
You're not understanding. It's in my interest that there isn't a conflict in this country because of immigration.
Hold on. You said white folks losing power, and then you went to immigration. Which one is it?
Because of immigration.
Okay. All right. Now I'm understanding. All right.
Votes.
They're losing power due to immigration. What do you think will happen if white folks lose that that grasp of power?
Civil War #2.
Okay. So Civil War #2. Who you think are going to be the victims of Civil War #2?
Everybody.
Specifically, who?
Everybody.
You think Latin people will be victims of that?
Absolutely.
So you, being somewhat of a white advocate, do you think that they'll see you as a white advocate?
Well, I mean, that kind of thing, it depends. If, there's more of a ask questions first thing, but that usually doesn't happen in a war.
If you dye your hair blonde and put some blue contacts, right, you probably pass.
No, I mean, no. But what I'm saying is that people who support illegal immigration, people who support whites becoming a minority, are supporting a potential civil war.
Listen, the Civil War is going to happen regardless if immigrants are here or not. All right.
No.
Yes.
No, because there hasn't been a civil war up to this point.
Dude, listen.
However, the population has changed from 90% white to 60% white in a few decades.
Yeah, whites are
totally different.
Whites are dying off. This is something that we all are aware. Even your friend talks about this all the time. Whites are dying off.
But
whites
they always come back.
No, that's not true. They've been dying off since 2000, and it's been declining ever since. Do you know what is the biggest contributors to the reason why whites are dying off?
They're not dying off, dude. There's just more people in the country,
dude,
that are not white.
Bro, the fact that whites' birth rates are down and their deaths are up, they're dying off. Do you know what is contributing to that?
That's not the reason. That's not the main reason.
I'm asking you a question. Do you know what's contributing to that?
What's contributing to them becoming a smaller percentage?
Yeah.
More immigrants coming in.
Nope. Is the opioid epidemic in their community?
No, dude.
Yes, it is. No, that's what it is. Is it fucking airborne diseases?
I made a video about this. I made a video called "Demographics is Destiny." It shows the number of immigrants from different countries. Overwhelmingly, the immigrants are coming from Mexico. Overwhelmingly.
That's not true. You should really stop going into these right-wing websites and finding out these little BS facts.
Right-wing webs, dude.
That's not true. I'm telling you something right now. I did the research. The fact that the majority of immigrants in this country are Europeans and Asian people are overwhelmingly coming in here, legal and illegally.
It doesn't matter how many are coming in right now. The point is, how many people are here now? How many people are here right now?
A lot of non-Latin people.
Very small group.
A lot of non-Latin people. We don't even make the majority of illegal immigrants up in this country. That's something that you gotta understand.
Mexicans are the majority of illegal immigrants.
That's not true. That's not true.
Of course, it's true.
No, it's not. That's not true. There was an article that came out saying that Mexicans are not the largest immigration. I can even send it to you. I made a whole video about this thing. That Mexicans are not the largest one in this country. It's actually Asians.
Listen, you don't have to believe what I'm saying. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. But I know what I'm talking about, dude. I really know what I'm talking about.
Oh, jeez. Oh, you got a dog? Oh, what kind of dog you got? No, it's all good.
A Chihuahua Terrier.
Oh, this. Yeah,
they're mixed like me.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yo, you cool, man. Yo, you cool. I gotta get you on more often, bro. Jesus, you cool. But before we go, how did you like our interview?
It went.
Yeah. Do you hate me more? Do you hate me less? I know you still see me as an idiot.
I hate people, but I don't exactly have
a positive favor on me.
I'm not coming out of this with a better view of you. If
Of
that's
course.
what you're asking.
I wasn't expecting you to. I just find it hilarious. Oh no, that's fine. That's totally cool. Tell the people where they could find you at.
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Dominican Renaissance. But I won't be uploading that many videos because you guys cannot imagine how busy I am.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
doing political things. You're probably becoming a politician and everything. So you got
Likes.
you
Uh,
you, you got things going on.
but yeah, like I'm just too busy. I don't have time to even think about this kind of thing right now. But what I want people to understand is like I don't I don't I don't have a vendetta against other groups. I just view that I just understand that um, when you put different groups together, it creates conflict. And that conflict is negative for everyone involved. And right now in the United States, there is a problem with immigration. It is completely out of control. And if it doesn't slow down, if it doesn't stop, there's going to be a conflict, and we are all going to regret that. Um, and it's just mathematically very likely to happen. You can't bring a bunch of people from a different society in who have different values and ways of viewing life, who are taking your resources while you have all the the majority of the resources, the weapons, the information, and not do anything. I think in every situation where you look back at a time where a European country has had another nation come into its borders, they have always regretted it, and it might take 700 years like it did in Spain before they kicked out the Muslims. But they do, when they decide to take action, people are going to regret it, and it's not going to be pretty. And that's just a fact of the situation. As
Yeah. It's kind of like kind of like saying you're first generation immigrant.
yes,
It's like someone saying that to you. Listen, we shouldn't be bringing your parents in here. You're not gonna contribute anything and all this other stuff. It's kind of like saying that. But I do see where you're coming from. I understand that. Again, I'm not pro immigration and I'm not anti immigration. I totally understand
but
where
you
you're
see the
coming from.
bigger picture, right? You see,
I do. I do. I'm not gonna sit here and lie saying that you're wrong and you're a bigot. No, no, no. Get out of here. I'm not gonna say here. I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with what you're talking about. How certain people don't come in with the right mentality. You know what I mean? And they come in here with the same mentality as they left their country and not contributing anything. So I get what you're talking about. Like I get it. I understand. I somewhat agree, but the thing is, I'm glad that me and you had this talk. You know what I mean? For a long time, I've been trying to get you on and stuff. But I'm glad we had this talk. Hopefully, this brightened up any misconceptions me and you had about one another. You know what I'm saying? Anything that
sure.
anything that you thought about me or whatever the case is. Hopefully um ironed everything out. Um, with that being said, do you wanna end with anything?
I just want people to not assume intentions. You never want to assume the intentions of someone without evidence, and you never want to call people names without evidence. And whether you believe that racial IQ is a real thing, or whether you believe that all races are equal, polar opposite ideas, you have to have the evidence to support that. And if you don't have the evidence to support that, then you're just slandering people. You're just name calling, and it's not productive to society. Is not really a conversation.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, I agree. I agree. The name calling, I don't really do the name calling like that, you know. But yeah.
Okay.
What do mean DK? Nah, I don't. I don't. Like on a video, I probably, but you know, face to face, you know, me and you were talking. I didn't name call you or anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, in the video, I don't know you. I'm be like, yo, you know, he a little, you know, he a little coon. But pero listen, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it. Remember, Dominican Renaissance is a YouTube channel, and everything is gonna be in the link in the description down below. And thank you for coming, bro.
Sure.
All right, peace. Now that was the interview with Dominican Renaissance. Now remember, his YouTube channel is gonna be linked on the description down below. I hope you guys enjoyed our discussion. Let me know what you guys agree with, what you disagree with, if you think that he's wrong or he's right, or I'm wrong and I'm right. Just let me know in the comments down below. Try to keep it respectful, guys. You know, I get a lot of, you know, trolls, you know, coming in and out, in and out, in and out. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep it respectful. You know what I mean? But anyway, remember, if you guys like what you heard and you want to support, hit me up on Cash App, $Radical Latino, or donate to my on my website is radicallatino.com/donate. All proceeds are gonna go not only to the podcast, but is also gonna go to a nonprofit organization. Actually, talking about nonprofit organizations, the end of the month is coming, and I damn near raised like 200 something, you know, and I need you guys to let me know where to give this money to, like who to donate it to, because I'm planning on giving half of the money to a nonprofit organization. I want all Black or all Latin nonprofit organizations. I really don't have none of that in mind right now, so just give me some advice. Let me know who to give it to, and you know, I put it on my social media, you know, saying, hey, I chose this one, you know. But come on, guys, I need some ideas, you know what I'm saying? I need some ideas. Also, if you guys can hit me up on my social media on Twitter and Instagram at the same name, radical_Latino_. And I'm going to catch you guys later.